Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Appreciate Daniel Erspalmer joining us once again. Governors release information. They don't give you the information that you need. We got it right here, folks. 100% information that you're just not going to get reading the Advocate. You're not going to get it reading the Jim Beam piece, but you can get it here. And we're going to jump gears again. Y'all been hearing me up and down about a poll this, poll that, and I wanted to bring a gentleman in who's been no stranger to our program. He's no stranger to polling because he's done it for a long, long time, and he understands the professionalism of it, and that's why I gave him a call. Bernie Pinsonat joins us. Bernie, how you doing, sir?
Hey, man, doing great.
Good, man. Good to have you this morning with us. Bernie, I'm you've been polling for a long time, man. You know the ins and outs, but I want you to talk about something that I think needs to be talked about, and I'm gonna call it. This is how I'm gonna ask the question: professionalism in polling. And what I mean by that is not necessarily pollsters not being professional, but if you're a professional pollster and you team up with the media to put out a poll, a legitimate poll, there's got to be some kind of standard that's out there before a newspaper, TV station, whoever releases the poll. And what goes with that so we can know that the poll and the questions and all that are done right. So I want you to concentrate on that. What all takes place when you're polling? When a poll's going to make it in the media is going to run it and things of that nature. Talk a little bit about that. This is something you've had to do most of your life.
Well, there's a set of rules that the American polling, I don't quite remember, hadn't looked it up in a while, but the American Polling Association, whatever the technical name is, and the media established a set of rules to protect the public from misleading information in a survey being used to affect public opinion or whatever, to affect a product or affect a service. So the media has a responsibility to abide by those rules. Not all of them do, obviously. They're if you're talking about, I will say that if you're talking about the New York Times, the Washington Post, they've used my polls before, but I mean they go into my poll and look at it in great detail. They want to see the research method. They want to know who paid for it. They won't even run it today unless I have 50% of the calls were made using cell phones.
Wow.
So without the cell phones, you're speaking to primarily just about all older voters. It's hard to reach anyone under 50 now on a landline. So when I run surveys, I have sometimes what I call subscribers, and they pay a maximum amount of money. It's a couple thousand, sometimes less. But all of those people, first of all, I tell the media that if they want to come to the office and look at all aspects of the survey, look at the questions, how they were asked, I'll give them the names of the people who put up the money, and I will also assure them that the people who put up the money, they just put up the money because they want me to put out my experience has been, because my name and reputation are still intact, they trust me to come up with the questions. They trust me to run a straight-up poll. They trust me to handle it properly. They trust me not to make assertions that aren't backed up by the poll. And I've been doing that for 30-plus years, and no one has ever, no media or no subscriber has ever accused me of wrongdoing. My partner and I enjoyed a great reputation. I'm synonymous with polling in Louisiana, and I got that way by conducting myself properly, following those guidelines. And
Bernie, let me ask you a quick question. I understand from your perspective Okay. But what about the perspective and the professionalism that a newspaper or a TV station or whoever who's going to put this poll out, what do they have toward the readers and the people that are out there? Don't they have some kind of professionalism? Like, if you're not going to tell us who paid for it, you're not going to tell us the tabs, you're not going to give us how many whites, how many blacks, how many Democrats, how many Republicans, how many males, how many females, you're not going to give us anything. You're not going to give us nothing. What kind of responsibility do they have to us, the people?
Well, I've sent you my surveys. You can look at my survey and see. I have what's called about the poll. I have the data, the dates it was taken, the number of white voters, black voters. I talked the types of voters we called. Which, by the way, is very important.
Sure.
Did I call all voters, or did I call? Did I call all residents of Louisiana, or did I call registered voters, or did I call all registered voters, or did I call likely registered voters, or did I call chronic? All of those universes will give you different results. If you're calling 100% of all voters in Louisiana, is going to be probably maybe 10, 12, 15% more moderate to liberal, because you're calling people who are generally they could be poor, they don't pay attention to government,
sure.
They not that in tune. So the real, so it depends on the election. This election is what we would call a likely voter survey.
Okay.
And I pay a lot of money for a list, by the way, that is likely voters, cell phones, and all of those things. So all of that stuff should be in the about the poll, and it should give the methodology. That's why we call it about the poll. And I can't speak for newspapers, because when you, as a newspaper, the big newspapers hire big polling firms, and they pay for it, and they have the pollster available, by the way, to be interviewed, to be questioned, and to find out the details. We know who paid for it: ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. They all do polls, but they're up front. And by the way, the pollster is available to any reporter to verify the findings or learn all there is to know about the poll to make sure of its accuracy. So, it's just standard fare for most of your bigger newspapers. Now you have columnists who jump in and write about a poll and take it for granted what it says, and they don't know the details of the findings.
Yeah.
And so you're writing you can't prevent that, but it certainly is more responsible when you make all the information available, and but if you're talking about, there are some newspapers, if they see something favorable to a poll favorable to their candidate, or somebody they like, or somebody they're constantly writing editorials about how wonderful they are, they'll jump on that in a nanosecond and quote the poll as the gospel. And that happened with me over the last couple of years when I ran polls, and you called me and asked me the details, and I gave you the details.
I noticed that
remember I had John Bell Everett at 66, 67, and a lot of the Republicans said, "No way," and I said, "Yes," but
that was early.
That was, and then the first one I ran, he was 47. He had just taken office. He was suffering from the Republicans not going to vote, didn't like him. The storm came along, and he got to be on TV day and night, and his ratings jumped up into the 60s. He had a legislative session. He fell back down. He gets past the legislative session. He goes back up. And that's been sort of the trend for him. But when he was at 65, 66, every columnist, every news story quoted the Southern Media poll, how popular he was. But So as of today, though, the polls I'm seeing on Edwards, which is the only thing that I noticed, is that the numbers I ran and the popularity I showed has dramatically decreased down into the 52, 53, whatever it is in the rural surveys that if you're doing anything in a rural area, Edwards isn't in a lot of places. He's not even 40% popular. The rural areas are very conservative, and he's actually doing very poorly out there.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Bernie Pinsonat. All right, Bernie, we'll take a break. When we come back, I got some questions. It's more dealing with Donald Trump. They take a poll and run him into the ground. Nobody sees that. He came here. By the way, don't you think it's kind of odd you do a poll in April and you release it in June? Do you think that's – when we get back, I'll let you answer that. Do a poll in April and release it 2 months later. Just wonder if that's normal. Anyway, we take a break. Bernie Pinsonat, my special guest. One more segment to go. I didn't think so, but let me take a break. We'll be right back. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Bernie Pinsonat, my special guest. Been a pollster for a long, long time in a great state, Louisiana. He's done stuff outside as well. We're talking a little bit about professionalism and polling. Hey, Bernie, I asked a question. Was going to the break. Just curious, why would somebody run a poll in April and release it in late June? I'm just curious, is that normal? That's like a 2-month window there, over 2-month window. Why would you run a poll? I mean, you know yourself in politics, Bernie. 2 months from now is a lifetime, but 2 months ago was a lifetime too. Why would you do? Is that normal?
Well, first of all, you got to remember this phrase that I use. I took a picture of a snapshot of time. When that poll's over or during that's the picture of what existed then. The further away you get away from that picture, the more the more likely it will change and can change events, especially with politics, where everybody knows the person, or everybody knows the subject, everybody knows the candidates. Whatever's happening daily, somebody sees something in the newspaper or somebody reads something about Trump, things, the stock market, whatever. 2 months is a
long time.
Pretty long. Is a long time for a poll to be on a shelf and then bring it out as if
can I ask you this question?
For the day.
Can I ask you for the question then? Why?
I'll put it this way.
Why wouldn't
I've never released one more than 10 days after the poll because, I'm telling people as a pollster, it's a snapshot of the way things were when this survey was done, and that's when it ends. Anything past that, this poll doesn't represent.
Yeah, I just when I looked at the April poll, I'm laughing, going, so you polled during the session, you released the poll in late June. And all other polls that I've seen and people I've talked to has Edwards low 40s at best. And but yet, all of a sudden, this poll comes from nowhere with no numbers. I mean, Bernie, let me ask you a question. What is this? Tell you what, because I don't have a lot of time, let me just jump to the big one. Donald Trump, President Trump. All of a sudden, you get a poll, and then you get 2 articles that Donald Trump is tanking in Louisiana. He better not come help the Republican candidate. And I'm going, where did they get that from? Now, this poll was actually done before Trump came to town. And when he came to town, you couldn't go down that road. They had so many people on the side of the road cheering him on.
Well, let me answer that. If Donald Trump came to Baton Rouge, we don't have anything except Tiger Stadium big enough to hold a crowd. I mean,
but you got writers in Baton Rouge saying he's in trouble. He better not come. He's horrible. Nobody likes him anymore. That's what they tell us.
Well, I look. Let's say I've done 5 surveys, and I have, and I haven't done anything in Baton Rouge. But outside of Baton Rouge, with white voters, I don't see anything below 70% with whites as far as popularity.
God, mercy.
And the other thing is, if you look at Donald Trump across the state, there is something that anybody should be able to figure out if you look at the politics of it. You got to look at the politics of Trump. he's a very polarizing figure. 98% of the blacks are going to give him an extremely poor job performance. Some poor white Democrats will give him. So then you've got to look at the independents and the Republicans. The Republicans are going to give him 90%.
Yeah.
Independents are a little different. They tend to be. They may give him only a 50% job performance, but see, then you take the whites and the low income whites and blacks. You know, you're talking about basically 40% of Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that's about the number that votes against Trump. So he's not. The polls I've run for him, I've never had him 60%. He's normally around 54, 55.
Sure.
But if that poll would have asked, who'd you vote for, would it be Joe Biden or
and it jumps up
Beto O'Rourke, he would be 60-40.
Yeah.
So, and look, I can tell you this much. I have a lot of candidates running for the legislature. What happened to that young man in New Orleans when Trump said you ought to run for office? All of my candidates would love that opportunity to have Trump endorse him.
I ain't no doubt about it. Well, I still think he's going to be a big player in the governor's race. It's just amazing that a newspaper takes a bogus poll, and it's bogus for a lot of ways, and then the concentration was how bad Trump's doing here. And I'm telling you, when I saw that, I knew it was like, by the way, 59% of people never heard of Steve Scalise. My question now is, who are you polling?
Well, if you're polling everybody, a lot of people don't pay attention to politics and they don't vote. And if you include them in their survey, so look, if I poll 10 people and 5 of them say they're voting for A and 5 say they're voting for B, but 2 of B's voters that I talk to aren't going to vote, and I say it's dead even, well, I'm wrong because my poll has voters in it that are not going to vote.
Bernie, you've been a great asset to us today, man. Thank you so much. We're going to do it again as other polls are released, but thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Bernie Pinsonat, you'll hear from him again, I'm sure, during the course of the election. We'll take a break. Be right back, folks. Just trying to give you information you're not going to read in the Advocate, I promise you.